Hi again, everyone. So I think it's best if we start now. And if there are some people who will join us eventually, we can just let them in from the waiting room. I am Paolo from Campus France. I'm not sure which percentage of people who joined us today are from the UP Diliman Layag Fair. I think it was just yesterday. Or no, that was okay. We have someone who's listening, tuning in while driving. Stay safe. Thanks for joining us today. And yeah, I am Paulo from Campus France, and we will be doing a webinar about uh, the doctorate studies track in France in general, as well as the PhilFrance-DOST scholarship, particularly the doctorate grant for the PhD level. We are joined by two more people. So without further ado, let's get to the presentation. So the first bits of information I would like to share is why pursue a PhD in France in the first place? And there are plenty of advantages of being a doctorate student in France. First of all, being you will be joining a large part of researchers in France. Around 40% of doctorate studies and research and publications in France are done by international students, such as potentially yourselves. So France owes a lot of its scientific documentation to students from outside and inside the European Union. So when you get there, you are going to be working with your peers who are not necessarily French, and more importantly, will be speaking English. That's not to say that your head of research won't be speaking English himself or themselves either. So a lot of doctorate studies in France are geared towards international students. And that also shows by way of the amenities, the facilities, it's just the overall work style of doctorate research teams. And you're going to find out soon enough uh, with our speaker just how the life of a Filipino student at the doctorate level goes in France. The second reason is that your research is going to be compensated because it is mandatory in France that you be issued a work contract when you begin your PhD. So it's not going to be similar to your master's studies where you will have to make do with perhaps any savings that you might have or any earnings that you get from the 60% maximum workload that you can get as a master's level student. In France, if you do your PhD, you will be paid as a researcher. And at the same time, you will be able to work on your doctorate degree. Just don't accept like a very opulent salary. It's going to be something that will be able to sustain you. And it's something that is mandated by law. So it's something that you can anticipate. And lastly, I know I mentioned that we will be discussing the PhilFrance scholarships today, but do know that even if you do decide to study a doctorate program in France without the scholarship, it only costs 380 euros per year. So that's a little under 24,000 pesos. Of course, that's not going to account for your living expenses, any travel costs that you might incur. But this small fee, which is, by the way, the same price, the same cost that students from Europe are paying, is thanks to the orientation of the French government towards financing and supporting research, be it by Europeans or by international students. So this is subsidized, which is why it's so low. Usually you can expect it to be in the thousands of euros per year. But do know that if you are going to study a PhD program, it's going to cost you 380 euros per year. So it's something that's, I would say, accessible, even if you are not necessarily a grantee of the PhilFrance scholarships. So enough with the arguments for why you should study a PhD in France. Onward to the presentation of the PhilFrance scholarships. So I'm not sure if you guys have already heard of the PhilFrance scholarships in the past, but this was an initiative of the French embassy way back in 2016. And there are two scholarship types. We will only be discussing the second type, which covers PhD level studies, but it is a French government grant or scholarship, which means that it is not like stackable with French government grants such as the Eiffel Excellence. And I know this is redundant, but it cannot be stacked with the Erasmus Mundus scholarships as well, if we have any people who are eyeing both master's and PhD studies in the participants. But we will discuss the PhilFrance-DOST. Now, just for a bit of transparency, it started with the PhilFrance CHED. We worked with the Commission of Higher Education in the past, and it featured a more diverse set of fields of discipline for the scholarship. Although now we are working more closely with the DOST, and this is an annual scholarship. So they're the DOST is looking for master's and PhD level scholars, and there is a focus on a set of fields of study, but we will discuss that later. It's mostly on natural sciences, but there are more and more successful grantees from the, I will say, softer sciences like applied mathematics, statistics. So if you feel like the research program that you want to apply for is under the umbrella of the DOST, do not hesitate to let us know. You can email us or you can email the DOST directly to find out if your chosen PhD program will be eligible. And another heads up, this is co-funded by the Department of Science and Technology. So if we have any DOST scholars in the crowd, there is a return service agreement right here, and it's a 1-to-2 ratio. So that means if you pursue a 3-year PhD program in France, you will have to do a return service of 6 years in the Philippines upon the conclusion of your doctorate. Something that I wasn't able to integrate in the presentation, but was just an anecdote during the study fair that we did a couple of days ago at UP Diliman, is that we've had current scholars of the DOST asking if the RSA can be deferred to after they pursue maybe a master's or a PhD. Apparently, it's possible. So if you are an undergrad scholar or a master's scholar under the DOST, there might be a possibility that your RSA for that program can be deferred until after you pursue your PhD. But please check with your DOST contacts because it's the policy of the DOST, and we can't really divulge or say too much about it because they are the ones who are in control about these policies. As to the advantages of the PhilFrance-DOST scholarship, you get the monthly stipend and the round-trip economy airfare care of the DOST. And for the French embassy, you get the waiving of the tuition fee as well as the healthcare package. So that includes insurance, and that includes being signed up for a mutuelle as well. And there is also going to be assistance in finding accommodations for you as a student or as a researcher. I did mention the fields of study. So these are the original 14 fields of study that were the focus of the PhilFrance-DOST. But like I mentioned, it's getting more and more diverse. We've also had people coming in for geology. We've had someone for, well, biology isn't exactly a precise field. We have bioengineering, biological sciences, but we've had someone in biomedicine be accepted for the DOST grant. We've had someone for risk management and disaster and risk management. So it's not necessarily just hard sciences for the PhilFrance-DOST. You can always approach us if you feel like your program is going to be beneficial for the PhilFrance, for the DOST, for your RSA. I see that we have a raised hand from Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us. Please save your questions for later. We will, or you can send them by chat, just so we can keep track of it. But we will answer questions after the presentation, my presentation and that of the presenter that we invited for today. It's quite dense. I tried to fit everything in one slide, but these are the requirements. Of course, you have the application form provided by the DOST. There are budgetary requirements because it's the DOST who will be funding the majority of your stay. So you will need to give them a breakdown of the estimates, more or less, of what you expect to pay for accommodations, for sustenance, for overall living costs, with supporting documents as well. So you get started with research. Even at this stage, you'll be doing a lot of comparisons and a lot of research into the budget that you will require. You also have a re-entry plan, a narrative re-entry plan for when you reintegrate in the Philippines. That means for your RSA, you need the usual documents like the NBI clearance, birth, and medical certificates. And this is the tricky thing. This might be one of the requirements that require a lot more time in advance. You need endorsement from 2 former professors. So in this case, since you are going to be potentially PhD applicants, you need endorsements from college professors during your master's. So it needs to be 2 distinct people. And if you are also employed at the time of your application, you should include an authorization for leave of absence for the duration of your scholarship, as well as another recommendation from your direct superior or from the one in charge of your research department. These are the documents that you need to prepare. And a last bit of information for the formalities. You have the timeline here. You can send applications until April 7, and you can expect to hear the results around June 10. April 7 isn't, I would say, the deadliest deadline, because we will accept applications even though you are still awaiting confirmation from your doctorate school. What matters is you can send the bulk of the documents required by the DOST. And this is not an exhaustive list, mind you. There are also documents like an academic essay and financial statements that will be required by the embassy. But as long as you can show us proof of any correspondence that you might have with your PhD school or with your potential research director, that should suffice as proof of application. Although, of course, if you get shortlisted, further down the road, we will be looking for more definitive proof of your admission. Just know that you don't have to get everything settled before April 7. You just need to get the documentary requirements out of the way. Oh, I'm sorry about that. It seems that I wasn't able to share my screen. Could you please confirm by chat if that is the case? I'm so sorry about that. Oh, okay. So I'm very sorry about that. These are the slides. I'm afraid the screen sharing was paused. That was my mistake. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'll just be going back. So this is the first slide for the benefits of taking a PhD in France. And you can see the compensation slide. You can also see the cost, which is around 380 euros per academic year. And this is the presentation of the PhilFrance scholarships, more specifically the PhilFrance DOST, which includes coverage for research fellows at the PhD level. You can also see the advantages here. So for the DOST side, you get a stipend for every month. We are not really privy to how they calculate the stipend. It's not made known to us, but it should be sufficient based on the budget that you will provide as one of the requirements. And there's also the economy airfare round trip for before and after you complete your doctorate program. And as for the French embassy side or the ministry side, you get the waiving of the tuition fee for your PhD, which in itself isn't really that big. It's like 380 euros per year, as I mentioned. And there is also the social security and health insurance package that you can expect, as well as access to student accommodations. And these are the fields of study. I'm just gonna let you guys read up on it because I realized that it wasn't really shared before. Sorry about that, but I'll be reading them aloud as well. You have agriculture, bioengineering, medical bioinformatics, and biological sciences. So this one is a bit of a blanket term. You have climate change and forestry conservation, health and medical research. You also have material sciences, medical chemistry, natural resources and environment, nuclear application on health and nuclear medicine, veterinary sciences, and virology. So just know that even if your program is perhaps a bit niche or it doesn't necessarily figure in this list, you can reach out to either Campus France, the French Embassy, or the DOST to find out if the PhD program that you're aiming for is in fact going to be eligible. because in the past few campaigns, we've received successful applications from scholars in the softer sciences like mathematics and stats. So do let us know if you have any doubts. This is the list of requirements. Don't worry, we will give a link to the PhilFrance website as well as additional documents at the end of this presentation, or perhaps on Monday morning. But I'll read them out just in case. I remember that there was someone who was driving while listening to the webinar. So you have a DOST application form that is made available on the website. You need to make a list of budgetary requirements with supporting documents for your estimates. You need a re-entry plan for your return service agreement, and you need a recent NBI clearance and medical certificate, followed by a PSA birth certificate as well. Now, the last few documents are a bit tricky. You need a couple of recommendations from 2 college professors while you were taking your master's. So for those who finished their master's degrees quite a while back, you might need to reach out to these people again. And if you ever are employed at the time of your application, you're going to need authorization for your leave of absence during the scholarship and a recommendation from your direct superior or department head as well. And for the timeline, you can expect to receive announcements by June 10. Deadline of applications is on April 7. Sorry about that once again. Let's proceed to the rest of the presentation. So how exactly do you find a doctorate program? Now, Campus France has catalogs for everything, and one of those catalogs is for doctorate schools. Now, this you will see shortly is quite an efficient tool. You can use it to narrow down your search based on the field of study and based on the set of doctorate schools that you want to gain admission into. You guys are going to see shortly, because there are sort of conglomerations of doctorate schools and universities in France, and that sort of gathered to have better representation for their research. And we will be doing a live demonstration in a bit. Just let me share my screen properly this time. All right, can you guys send some reacts just so I know that you can see my screen? Thank you. So this is the doctorate catalog. I will be giving access to this catalog as well after this presentation. But this catalog is fortunately available in English as well. So as you can see here, you can immediately see that the results can be sorted based on field of study. So you can see it here. But do know that doctorate programs aren't just in natural sciences in France, while social sciences and humanities and arts aren't going to be eligible for the PhilFrance-DOST. If there are any people who are interested in these fields of study for their PhD, you can also use this resource, because you can see that it's not just limited to DOST favored courses. So you can either sort by field of study here, or you can, if you prefer a certain region of France, you can do that here as well. So for instance, let's try finding something that could potentially be eligible for the PhilFrance-DOST. So we're looking at a bunch of biotechnology programs. Now I think this looks interesting, the one in chemical sciences at Université de Strasbourg. So if you find a program that you wish to pursue or wish to apply for, you can click on the link in the catalog. It's taking a bit of time. Okay, sorry, supposed to click here. I'm not sure why it's not loading. I'll try to click on some other results instead. Sorry, I think it must be a problem with the connection because the directory isn't finished loading yet. Try and see if this improves. We got another person in the waiting room. Bonjour, thank you for joining us. Okay, there you go. So once you click on a lead that you want to pursue, you can find a breakdown of the information about the course as well as some figures about the course itself. So you can see here that there aren't really any foreign PhD students for this program yet. So if you guys ever manage to get into this doctorate program, please let us know. We'll be happy to know. But yeah, you can find the information here. And the very important thing that you need to find is the contact person for application into the doctorate school. Because the way to get into doctorate school, our presenter will be going more in depth about it later. But in a nutshell, you can either do the traditional approach, which is find a possible research director or thesis director or thesis advisor in France and pitch your topic, your research topic to them. Or what you can do is, which is also what a lot of PhD applicants do, is you approach a doctorate school that offers a list of research programs that they are offering. And you apply basically to these research programs or these research teams. You will be corresponding with your potential research director. You will be giving a proof of any prior research you've done before. And once you're on board, then you can start working on your PhD for 3 years. So those are like the two possible approaches that you can take. But you have the presenter who will be discussing more about his way of getting into his doctorate program in a bit. He's actually joined the room now. Okay, so this is how you start looking for your PhD program. Do not worry about the medium of instruction, because in France, once you get to graduate level and even more so at the PhD level, it's almost always going to be done in English, since you'll be working with international research teams yourself. I will once again be sharing the link to this catalog. But another thing that I have to clarify, the admission into the research program or the PhD program is the responsibility of the applicant, which means that when you apply for the PhilFrance-DOST fellowship, it's important that you already be in contact with your chosen school or schools, and that you've already expressed your intention to apply for a PhD. It's not something that we can do on your behalf. We can give tools such as this catalog to assist in your search, but it's something that you will have to do yourselves independently. All right. I think it was suspended for a while, the screen sharing. Can you guys see it now? Anyway, just to recap, you find a lead in the catalog that you want to pursue, and all you have to do is to access it by clicking on the lead, and you can find information, general information about the PhD program, as well as the contact details of the research director or of the team that you need to contact. It's right here. Okay, I see that we have our speaker with us now, so I am going to stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions, please send them by way of chat. We will respond to them towards the end of the webinar, after our presenter has shown us and shared his experience and any information that he might have as a previous scholar himself. So I will be pinning them on the screen. Hi, Elorde.
Hello.
I think your volume is a bit low. Could you please try speaking closer to the mic?
Hello.
Okay.
Okay na.
Yes. Bonjour. Welcome back. I hope the internet connection holds. But everyone, we have with us today Elorde Crispolon. He was a PhD scholar under the PhilFrance-CHED, and he'd be sharing his experience applying for a PhD program, as well as the advantages and the experience of being a Filipino scholar in France. So, Elorde, will you be activating your video, or you'll just be sharing your screen?
I'll be sharing my screen.
All right. Floor is yours.
Okay. Wait lang. Nakikita na po ba?
Yep, we see it, although it's not in presenter view.
Okay, wait. It's fine now.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sir Jehad, for inviting me to speak. So basically, I will be sharing my experience on how to apply in doctoral school or yung scholarship, paano nag-apply, or if I will not be able to share all the information for scholarship application, you can send me an email. I will be flashing the screen siguro later um, yung email ko, so you can contact me and maybe I can help you with the application sa scholarship. Okay, so once again, good evening, everyone. I am Elorde Crispolon Jr. I am a faculty of the University of Southern Mindanao, Cabacan, Cotabato. So first, I will be talking how to apply. Actually, I have researched in the internet what are the basic steps on how to apply in a PhD program. So I have research about the basic steps. So choose the program that you want to apply for, plan out the timeline for your application, request diploma, transcript, recommendation letters, take any standardized test that the program requires, write your CV, write your statement of purpose or personal statement, and prepare for interviews if relevant. So these are the basic steps when you apply in a doctoral school. But I think it's different in France kasi we have not experienced any standardized state test. So on the right side, I have here also yung experience ko when I applied for a doctoral school um, in France. So I chose the program I wanted to pursue. So I chose the basically I applied for PhD in natural sciences, but later on in the doctoral school they changed it into systematics because I focus more on the systematics. Then I contacted my potential supervisor. um, Actually, in my case, I was a little bit lucky because I was able to work with my supervisor even before deciding to have a PhD in France. So after I contacted my potential supervisor, we already conceptualized the PhD subject or dissertation topic that I wanted to do. Yung feasible within 3 years, but of course, with COVID, I wasn't able to finish it in 3 years, so I was extended one year. So thank you for the scholarship, Ched PhilFrance, for giving me another funding for a year. Then, of course, you have to prepare all the necessary documents needed for admission. Application should be in English or possibly in French. So I wanted to emphasize here that it should be in English because in UP, our diploma in UP is in Filipino. So you need to request a translation of your diploma into English para mas kumbaga it would be equal doon sa requirement doon sa doctoral school, and apply for admission to the university or any French higher education institution. For example, in my case, I applied for a PhD admission at Museum National d'Histoire Naturelle or Sorbonne University, and I waited for result. Basically, I waited for, I think, a few days lang. Then my supervisor already contacted me that I was accepted for admission already at the doctoral school. So by the way, ang doctoral school namin ay ED 227. That's for Natural Sciences program at Museum National d'Histoire Naturelle or MNHN in Paris. So specific doctoral school application requirements may vary between type of program and school. So be sure to check carefully on each school's website. However, the main steps are usually the same. So I think Sir Paulo already presented to you on yung mga website ng mga different schools in France. So who to contact? So basically in my case, I as an applicant, directly contacted my supervisor. Then my supervisor directly contacted the doctoral school. That was my case. So basically I said na I was a little bit lucky because of I was able to work with my potential supervisor. Then they were able to pull some strings and directly contacted the doctoral school. But basically, you have to contact the doctoral school. Then the doctoral school will contact you, and yeah, and vice versa to for the information, ano mang kailangan, ano ang mga requirements that you needed to compile in order for you to have the admission. Okay? So ang timeline, okay, I basically research the basic steps na dapat i-prepare mo, and I put some I wrote some timeline for each. So based on my based on my experience. So requesting transcript, diploma, request for translation. Of course, you need to have at least 1 to 3 months before the deadline. Normally, ang deadline for in France, because the school year usually starts second week of September. So basically, before August, siguro, you have all the requirements already before you can submit the your application. Then conceptualization of PhD subject, I think it varies, depends on the topics that you're going to do during your PhD. So as we were able to at least conceptualize the general topic of my PhD, I think it was around 2 weeks. Then requesting recommendation letter 6 to 8 months before the deadline. Pero in the case ng MNHN, they did not require me to have a recommendation letter, but rather a certification that I am capable of writing a research from my former supervisor. In my case, during my master's, yung master supervisor ko. So then, standardized test that the program requires. So pag 2 to 5 months ang review. Pero in France, I think they do at least sa MNHN wala kaming test. Then write your CV 1 month before the deadline. Write your statement of purpose and personal statement at least few months before the deadline. And of course, it gives you for revision. I don't know with the other university in France if they require this one, but in MNHN, they did not require this one also. Then filling out application forms at least 1 month before the deadline. Also, I was also lucky before because my supervisor already filled out some of the information needed in the application form because it was in French. So of course, I don't have any knowledge about French language before. So they nag-initiate na sila to fill out all the other information. Then basically personal information na lang yung aking fill out doon sa application form. So what are the requirements? So basic requirements, English diploma, transcript of records, recommendation letter from the former supervisor, so yung masters, then indicating the ability of the applicant to write a research, then PhD subject or dissertation topic that you want to do during your PhD, and of course, your CV. Ito lang, very basic requirements that the doctoral school need for the admission application. So I think, but of course, it varies, it varies from doctoral school. Kung iba-ibang doctoral school, iba-iba din yung requirements. Then for scholarship application, so for further information, you can email me. Of course, I can help you with the application. Ano yung mga basic requirements when you apply for the for a scholarship. In my case, I was a scholar of PhilFrance. So I think I was the last batch of PhilFrance. So wala na akong natulungan for PhilFrance. But For PhilFrance-DOST, I was able to help few people. For example, yung mga basic yung cost of living, for example, yung ano yan, yung financial plan, and as well for contacting the doctoral school as well. So yeah, you can email me with this email so for more information about application for scholarship. And of course, I wanted to share as well my experiences as a scholar and as a student. So generally, being a student is always a roller coaster experience. So sometimes you're gonna laugh, sometimes you're gonna cry, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. So it depends on the situation. Sometimes your experiment failed, so you're going home crying. Sometimes your experiment is successful, so you're gonna go home very happy and bring some baguette going home sa pabalik sa apartment. So as a scholar, we have a lot of benefit as a scholar basically. So of course, living allowance, we have a free visa application, free security social or social security, airfare, yung mutual, and this is reimbursed by the campus funds. I don't know with the case of PhilFrance-DOST scholars now if they have the same way, yung i-reimburse lang. But before, for CHED PhilFrance, nire-reimburse yung aming expenses sa mutual. Okay?
It's the same. Reimbursed din siya for this batch of PhilFrance-DOST scholars.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So basically our yung medical expenses natin is basically free in France when you are a student there. So it's one of the pinakamasaya akong benefit na natanggap ko sa as a scholar, a scholar of French government and also the Philippine government, and also subsidized apartment. So I was able to save per month around 192 euros para sa sa apartment. Oh no. It's more than that. I think it's around 200 euros ang na save every month because of the subsidized yung apartment namin are subsidized. So yung allocation familial, yung CAF. So ang pinakamahirap lang dito when you apply for CAF and also the security social is you really have to learn a basic French in order to communicate with the staff ng CAF and also the assurance maladie yung security social. Okay. And many more for as a scholar, I was able to enjoy a lot of things in France. Number one is I was able to meet a lot of students from different parts of the world, so socialize with them. I was able to study a little bit of baking and cooking sa Le Cordon Bleu. So it was very nice. So, and I was able to have I was able to experience skiing, yung very very cheap. Ang binabayaran namin kasi since you are a campus front scholars, depende din sa allowance na natatanggap nyo, it's very cheap. Kasi normally if you wanted to go for skiing, I think you have to have at least around 2,000 euros or at least 1,500 euros. So it's very expensive. So thank you, Campus France, for that. And also I was able to meet new friends from different parts of the world. So yan. And of course, as a student. So as a student, hindi talaga natin may iwasan. We were may experience natin talaga yung tinatawag na imposter syndrome, especially for the PhD student. Sometimes you will question yourself, is it enough? Am I good enough? Yung mga ganon. But of course, you will be able to to surpass this one by having a good supervisor. You can talk to your supervisor. So presenting to you my supervisor, Dr. Adeline Sullier. So if I feel na parang hindi ako okay, I'm always talking to her lahat ng problem ko about my research, even personal. So it's really crucial when you do your PhD, it's really crucial for you to choose the right supervisor. Kasi yung success nyo as a PhD student and a PhD candidate is ano yan siya, integral talaga yon yung having a very good supervisor. And of course, I was able to meet a lot of scientists as well from my field and also from different fields. So I was able to communicate with them, although at first it was very hard because all of them are not really comfortable in speaking in English. But of course, French people are good in adjusting. So they were able to communicate with me in English at first. Then, yeah, I was able to experience as well as a student yung mga atelier, yung mga workshops, and also I was able to meet in a conference. There are a lot of conference that I have attended as well in France while I was a student, and meet some Asian friends who's working on the same field as mine. And also, yeah, and I was able to witness as well yung mga very very amazing collection ng museum, insects, because I am working on insects, the systematic of insects of a particular family of insects. So I was able to see those, and also other collections, mga crustaceans, fish, and mga bones. Okay. So how about learning the French language? So of course, learning a French language is really hard. It's not always a straight road. It's always a curved road. You will go up and down. Basically, ano yan? Naramdaman ko when I was enrolling French language, when I was attending class, yung formal class is I felt na parang mas mahirap pa yung French language kaysa sa PhD dissertation ko or yung PhD ko. So this is so much harder than my PhD. Lahat yan, sinabi ko yun sa sarili ko, this is giving me so much stress, and all I can hear is zzz. And why is it hard? Of course, French language or any language is very hard to learn. So what I did was, para at least I could communicate a basic conversation with French people, is I always practice. Sometimes when I was, and also listen to the radio, when I'm taking a shower, I put my, naghahanap ko ng video sa YouTube, and nalalakasan ko siya. And so while having shower, naririnig ko siya, and I could listen to the French words. And of course, very important then that you engage yourself with French. So what I did, although it's really good to have Filipino friends as a support system while you are having your PhD, kasi mga layo ka nga sa Philippines. So what I did is parang umiiwas ako sandali sa kanila. So because of course when you see Filipino people or Filipinos in France, you would always speak in Filipino. You would always speak in English probably, and English, Filipino English. So nakakalimutan mo yung nakakalimutan mo mag-practice sa French. So parang nagiging counterproductive na yun kasi nakikipag-meet ka sa mga Filipino and you speak in Filipino. So it's really important that you engage yourself with French. Also enroll in a formal French. So I enrolled in Sorbonne University. I did not pay anything for my French class kasi ang laboratory ko nung bayad nung French class ko. So it was nice, although you will not be able to right away speak in French fluently, but at least you will know the basic rules in speaking in the basic rules in yung ano yan, yung basic rules in French language, yung mga liaison and many more. Then watch French movies. You can you can use the voice as French, and also you can have the subtitle, so you can compare. You can take note as well. I did that, in taking notes while I was watching the French movies. And go out and observe. Of course, you will not learn if you're just isolating yourself around the corner of your room. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. I think this one is, I'm guilty ako dito kasi I was always afraid of making mistakes when I speak French. So with that, na-delay yung pagle-learn ko ng French. So it took me, I think, 2 years before I could at least speak French with, at least yung pag-basic order lang sa boulangerie or yung pag-order lang sa mga restaurant. It took me 2 years before I get confident with speaking French with French people. Then, of course, play sports with French speakers. So I play volleyball. Because of volleyball, and most of the students in Sorbonne University, they don't really speak, although they can speak English, of course, but they prefer to speak French with fellow French people. So with that, I was forced to speak with them. At least it was easier for me kasi pag volleyball, you have this even kahit na ano yung language na gagamitin, you have the same language, yung volleyball language. So it was easier for me to learn with them, yung learn from them in speaking ano yan, speaking French. And also I was a setter of this team on your right side. So of course you have to communicate well with them, and you will be communicating with them in French. So I think this is playing sports with French speakers are it's one of the best ano yan, way to learn the language faster. So yun. And but there are some suggestions as well with from different people na you have to have a French partner so you can learn French. Pero parang cliche na yun na ano, sometimes hindi ka din nakaka-learn pag ano when I was talking with some Filipino people who has a partner which is French. Then of course distressing. So basically actually nung 1 week before my PhD defense, or yung tinatawag nating soutenance, ay 1 week before ay pumunta ako ng Greece. Pero nung pumunta ako ng Greece, of course, nire-review ko yung manuscript ko and para mas ma-familiarize ako and how to answer some questions. So, of course, with this one, I was able to see the beautiful Greece. I was able to relax before my defense, 1 week before the defense. And also, I was able to experience skiing. So nagsiski ako every December. I really parang bahala na mahal. I really spend money for that so I could distress kasi it is really good for you to detach with yung routinary works mo sa PhD mo, and I think it was effective for me at least to do the detaching or yung distressing. Kasi when you go back, I observed na mas nagiging productive ako pag nagde-detach ako doon sa work ko. So I think it's good thing as well as a student, you need to have a life as well. Then of course, I was able to see the Berlin Wall. And of course, my childhood dream, I was able to see the beautiful Switzerland. So because of Heidi, yung cartoons na Heidi before. So it was really nice. It was really at that time I can't believe na witness ko na yung nakapunta na ako sa Switzerland. And La Sagrada Familia. So with that, with the distressing, yung detaching na ginawa ko, I was able to graduate my PhD. Also, I was able to see the Mont Saint Michel and yung sa Czech Republic and also sa Belgium. So I visited a lot of not a lot. I think sinasabi ko nga sa sarili ko parang kulang pa yung nabisita ko when I for 4 years na nasa France ako, parang kulang pa yung nabisita kong country. So pag bumalik ako, bibisitahin ko ulit yung ibang bansa na hindi ko na nabisita sa Europe. Kasi sa Europe, I think it's easier yung transportation compared sa, of course, even sa Philippines, mahirap yung transportation natin. So, yeah, mas madali. And yeah, with that, so I was able to graduate my PhD. So, this picture, it was taken right after my, my soutenance or yung defense ko. So I jokingly posted this one that Harry Potter already graduated at Hogwarts. So yan. And how to graduate, of course. Hindi natin kakalimutan yan. Hindi pumasok tayo to be a PhD student, of course, we need to graduate. Of course, as I've said during my first presentation, first few slides, that it's really crucial for you to choose the right supervisor. Kasi with working with your supervisor, it's all a good supervisor is really integral in your success as a PhD student. And of course, a good support system, your friends, Filipino friends, I have French friends. So a good support system is really important while having the PhD, while having your PhD in France. Kasi nga, as I mentioned, you will have to you will experience, that's normal, yung mag-experience yung imposter syndrome. That's normal for every PhD student or any graduate students to feel that. That's why I've said that having a good supervisor is really important, a good support system, and a good committee members are really important for your success. And of course, hindi lang naman support system ang kailangan doon. You need to do hard work as well. So I did really hard work in the sa aking PhD thesis. Even at night, even I think this was taken around 2 a.m. in the morning, I was still writing. So my kolokater, ang tawag doon, kasama ko sa bahay. He took picture of me while writing my dissertation at 2 a.m. So yeah, hard work still one of the key, the best key in attaining your goal of having a PhD degree. And of course, distressing, travel, relax, detach a little bit for you to recharge, and also prayers. So yan. And what are the impacts of of this experience as a PhD student in France on my scientific career? So I was able to publish at least 4 major publication and all in international journals. So I was able to describe 5 new genera of insect and 13 new species of of insect from the Philippines. So all are endemic from the Philippines. So I was able, that's a great impact on my scientific career. And also I was able to do the most comprehensive molecular phylogeny of Cercopidae. So of course, I will not be able to do that without the help of my PhD supervisor, without the funding of Jed PhilFrance, and as well in Campus France, yung French Embassy, and my supervisors, and also yung sa scientific reports, ito yung unang pinakamalaki kong publication. So scientific reports, it's part of the Nature. So yeah, it's with that I was a recipient of 2023 the Stephen G. Reyes Memorial Award for Insect Systematics because of my work on taxonomy of Philippine insects, specifically the Cercopidae. So why study in France? So aside from the quality education that you will have in France, of course, yung advanced facilities na magagamit mo for your thesis. Also, you will be able to experience itong supervisor kasi is a world-renowned entomologist taxonomist. So studying in France is also it's already a bonus to have a quality education, but meeting a lot of renowned scientists in France is it's really an opportunity for you. Why you have to study in France. And yeah, I was able to meet a lot of scientists from Poland, from USA as part of my committee, and you get to experience the best of world. And this one I was able to kasi I don't know, I don't know if it's a cliche, pero every time pumupunta ako sa Eiffel Tower, it's really, it's always magical kahit ilang beses na ako nakapunta. So with my PhD na ginawa ko sa France is I was able to capture a beautiful photo of La Tour Eiffel. I was able to experience the autumn, the golden leaves, and yeah, it's my experience in the autumn experience. So I was able to experience, I don't know with the other Filipinos, but my first snow experience, I experienced it in France. And thank you, because I was able to do my PhD in France and I was able to experience snow. And it was also my first time to be in Disneyland, to witness Disneyland. So of course, mahirap kami. I cannot experience even yung yung nasa Laguna banda, hindi hindi ko afford yun before, and because of because I studied in France, I was able to experience this one. Yeah, and for the return service agreement for USM, yung University of Southern Mindanao and CHED PhilFrance, parang meron silang agreement that I have to, for every year that I spend for my PhD, 2 years yung isa-serve ko as service sa government. So because of COVID, I extended 1 year. So I have 4 years in France. So I have to to serve in the Philippine government, or specifically sa University of Southern Mindanao, for 8 years. Yun yung return service. And merci beaucoup. So these are the institution that I wanted to thanks as well for sila yung key to success ng aking PhD degree. So if you have questions, of course, I feel free to ask. And yung email ko, if may hindi nyo nakuha yung email, so you could message me here, and I could maybe I could post it here in chat. So thank you everyone, and all the best.
Merci, Elorde. I didn't know na aside from being a scholar of the Philippines and France, you were also an athlete sa university.
I need to, kasi yung supervisor ko, siya yung nag-advise na, no, you have to play volleyball. You have to play, are you playing volleyball? Yes. So go to the Sorbonne University, enroll there, and play because it helps you. Totoo naman, nagiging mas productive ako pag nakakapaglaro ako.
Saka de-stress na rin siya.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we did 2 presentations in a row, if you guys have questions, you can send them by the chat. We can also, try something a bit different. What we can do different is you can maybe try raising your hands sa chat or as participants, and if you want to ask your question by speaking directly, unmute namin kayo isa-isa just for the sake of experimentation. Please, if you have questions, send them now. But my first question to Elorde is, it's something out of curiosity rin. When you were given the RSA agreement by the CHED, how long did it take for them to decide that it was at the USM that you had to complete your return service?
Kasi nung pumirma kami ng contract, kasi it's between CHED and USM. So ayun yan, technically dapat I have to return my I have to serve at USM when I go back to the Philippines, because I already have an item sa university. So yeah, I think it's really na parang dapat na doon ako sa USM mag-serve for my return service. So I think it's hindi umabot ng ilang buwan or but it's right away nung pagkatanggap sa akin sa USM, dapat ako mag-return service.
Okay. We have a question from the chat. It's I think both Elorde and I could answer to this question, but it's can you share a bit about the Filipino community in France? Are there existing organizations or groups that one can join? And if yes, what are their usual activities? If you are going to be based in Paris, we work closely with the Association of Filipino Students in France. I say in Paris kasi yung concentration of Filipino students talaga nandun, while there are other Filipino students in places like Montpellier, in Lille, in Marseille. A lot of them are admittedly in Paris. So when it comes to organizing like get-togethers, promotional campaigns, it's with students in Paris that we work with. And the president of the association is actually a PhilFrance scholar on his second year of master's. And he works closely with us, especially during this wave of events. Kasama yung pagpo-promote ng Olympics, kasama yung pagpo-promote ng Olympics, ng studies in France. And they themselves organize events rin, mga picnics, mga get-together. Anong minsan, nag-organize sila ng parang welcoming committee dun sa mga bagong scholars. So there is a community naman sa Paris. I'll let Elorde siguro speak more about maybe school associations or yung experience niya with Filipino community rin.
Yeah. Actually, when I was a PhD student in France, narinig ko na yung ano yung Association of Filipino Students in France. Pero wala nga gawa ng nagiging hectic na nagkaroon ng COVID, I wasn't able to join any activities when I was a PhD student. And I was just lucky I came back last summer, so I was able to meet a lot of students last time. I think I was part of the welcoming ano yun siya last time. So yeah, it's you really have to go. It's one way of distressing chika lahat. Although nag-advise ako na wag mag-meet sa mga Filipino kasi hindi ka makaka-learn sa French. Pero of course, it's still mas importante pa rin yung sanity mo and yung support mo as a Filipino student sa France kaysa dun sa pag-speak ng language. Although it's a bonus skills na kasi yung pag-speak. So, ang AS, Association of Filipino Students is really good. May mga may mga I think may mga Filipino groups din, yung mga nagtatrabaho na doon. You can join as well. May mga yung Pinoy in Paris, mga groups sa Facebook. So, it's nice. And also every July merong activity ang mga Filipinos na parang fiesta. That's really nice as well. Yung mga barbecue, yung mga nami-miss nyo. So, a lot of things that you can do in France with Filipino people there. And a lot are really very yan, yung parang very welcoming when you came to France, parang parang nasa Pilipinas parang kami. So if you have the chance, meet with Filipinos and join sa mga activities ng mga Filipino doon. Okay.
Just to add, I think it's called Pista sa Paris.
Yes.
Yeah. And tama, I think it's during one of the weeks in July. And may mga nagbebenta ng Filipino food, may nagbebenta ng Filipino snacks and junk food and emperador. So it's really a taste of home, kumbaga. We have another question and a lovely message from one of our participants. Congratulations on your successful PhD in France, Dr. Crispolon. Any advice for PhD aspirants who do not know any potential French supervisor or like research director yet?
Yes. Okay. Okay, yung natulungan ko last time a good friend of mine, si Des. Wala siyang kilala sa sa MNHN because she wanted to study in MNHN sa museum. So wala siyang kilala. So I personally sent an email to our director sa team namin. Tapos and then pinasa sa kanya itong supervisor na to. So I think it's really good to have a contact as well sa mga existing na mga Filipino students doon. And ang pinakakuan ko siguro, depende sa iyong depende sa yung specialization o yung field of expertise mo o yung depende sa yung pinupurso mong I think it's good to have yung sa research gate, you can see a lot of people there na who's in potential supervisor that you could contact. So research gate, yung mga publication, so depende kung ano yung mga titingnan mo yung mga publication if they're affiliated in France, any higher education in France, institution in France. So I think that's a good step as well to have contact with potential supervisors. So depende kung if you are working on, for example, in my case, taxonomy. So I could search a lot of publication working on my specific group. Then kung sino yung nandun na taga France, you could contact them directly kasi naglalagay naman sila ng email sa mga publications. And ano pa ba? Yeah, and also yung na-present mo kanina, Sir Paul, yung mga, Sir Paulo, yung mga emails na naman doon. So mga secretariat nila doon, nagbibigay naman sila ng mga if you are interested in working on bacteria, so magbibigay naman sila, oh, you could contact this one, yung mga secretariat nila doon, nagbibigay naman sila ng information. So you can visit the website. So yeah.
Yeah, the PhD or the doctorate school catalog is a good place to start kasi makikita nyo dun yung mga email addresses of the faculties that you want to integrate eventually. No. We have another question. I would like to ask or clarify what is the difference of the application to the doctoral school and the application to the university. In this case, it's going to be the same. Kasi ang
Mm.
mangyayari is ilalakad ni doctoral school ang admission mo para ma-onboard ka dun sa research team. Maybe Elorde would like to add something?
Okay. So, ang kan kasi, ang tawag sa doctoral school namin is ED 227. So, yung sa MNHN yan. So, may part din siya ng Sorbonne University. So it's the same. Hindi ka kasi, wala kasing courses talaga na katulad sa UP or America na ginagawa. So, basically, magtatrabaho ka talaga sa lab. So, in order for you to do your PhD, you have to have a lab. Although yung mga lab na yun affiliated dapat dun sa university na yun or yung particular na institution. Yung MNHN kasi parang special case kasi hindi siya university pero parang nasa umbrella siya ng Sorbonne University. So, parang ganoon. So, pare-parehas lang din ang way, ang steps.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. We have time for one last question, and I think it's quite relevant. So I'm gonna send this your way, Lorde. In SUCs or in state universities and colleges, we follow the CHED-JC for promotion. We are also encouraged to study abroad. So how can we know if the university in France is okay with the CHED? I heard that the CHED does not acknowledge other universities or certain universities abroad. If you can give clarifications on this, it would be much appreciated.
Okay, so good thing kasi nag-apply din ako for JC3 ngayon, yung ano yan siya, parang anong tawag doon, nakalimutan ko. Basta JC3. Actually na-validate po yung ano ko, yung PhD degree ko and I had a automatic one sub rank for that. So parang tinitingnan lang nila is dapat ay nasa top 100 ata and I think most of the universities in France, including the National Museum National d'Histoire Naturelle are ano siya, pwede siya for JC3. Kasi nakalagay doon mas may mga basta nasa top 100 yung pagkakatanda ko. Pero yeah, at least for MNHN, it was part and it was validated as well with the JC3. So I think it's regardless of the university, of course lahat ng mga university sa France ang gaganda kaya ng mga university sa France. So yung para sa Clay, yung mga universities in the south, yung Grenoble, yung Sorbonne University of course. Ano namin ni Marie Curie, char. Okay, and yeah, mga Paris University, lahat yan siya. Don't worry, ano yan, mava-validate. And very strong, kasi part siya ng Ministry of Education. Dapat, siya, parang, accredited siya ng Ministry of Education ng France. Yun yung pinaka. And nalalagay naman lahat ng, niyan, ng mga information doon sa diploma mo. Kaya minsan, pag tinitingnan yung diploma natin, parang papel lang siya na maraming sulat. Yung mga diploma namin. So, hindi nila na-appreciate ang diploma namin sa France. Kasi para lang siyang papel. Pero yun nga, yeah. Don't worry about it. It's okay. It's good. It's all good for JC3 application.
All right, thank you for the response, and congratulations, Lindao, for the automatic one sub rank.
Thank you.
Okay, so that wraps up today's webinar. Thank you so much to everyone who participated, and thank you especially to you, Elorde, for agreeing to share your time, your experience, and your sentiments with us. It's very invaluable for the potential PhD students or scholars even who will eventually make their way to France, hopefully this year. Elorde, if you don't have any objections, I will be sharing a recording of this webinar to the people who signed up but weren't able to join us this afternoon as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I will also be sharing Elorde's email address. So just in case you have any questions relevant to the PhD or the doctorate school admission or just life in France in general as a Filipino student and as a scholar, you can send them Elorde's way. And I'd like to say merci beaucoup, everyone. Merci, Elorde. And
Merci, Daria.
I hope to see you guys applying for the PhilFrance-DOST scholarship or even just for your PhD program in France. And have a good weekend, everyone. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Thank you.